Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is No Ticket Backwards. And this one is a big one. It's like this feels really heart heavy to me, and it also feels very real and something that people are resistant to talk about. And I say people because as this is starting, I feel like my own resentment, like you can't admit that this is happening. One of the hardest parts about starting over is blaming others or blaming yourself or just blaming anything really. Because blame, it's kind of like in a Star Trek where the guy with the hood, the Emperor, he's like fear leads to hate and hate leads to the dark. I don't remember the exact. I don't know. That's not committed to my long-term memory. But this is a very real thing where it's some kind of discontent feeling shows up, and it can be very heartfelt, and your doesn't listen to your brain's rationality. So if you're using your brain and you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense, I'm not going to feel that way, like you're lying to yourself, because your heart's going to do what your heart's going to do. And it has its own like neurons, like your brain has, or your heart has its own little teeny brain that does its own thing. So like for real, your heart can have and think on its own, not like full scope of human life, but enough that those feelings can affect your nervous system. So it's like you have some kind of blip of anger, hatred, fear, feeling disrespected, something like that, and then it can grow, and it can grow and stay, and then it becomes like a repetitive thought pattern. And then you see it, because it's a pattern, like someone who doesn't mean harm does something and you think that they're harming you, and you like it goes through this negative feedback loop in your nervous system, and over time it can turn into massive amounts of resentment or bitterness. Like for me, I use bitterness. Fiona's here with us again today. She prefers the word resentment, and we're going to use the word resentment because she has the meat of the topic. We're going to talk about what you do, because if you are trying to start over and you have your heart filled with bitterness or resentment, that's going to get in the way. It's going to immediately impact what you can build. And it's really frustrating because it's like you can want to leave it behind, but it can just feel really sticky and hard to let go. And it's like the more you try to let it go, the more it sticks. So with that intro, Fiona has her own journey that she's gone through starting over. That is, we did a clearing before this for me with a resentment that was coming up. She showed me how it works, and it's phenomenal. So she's going to share her process and other things that she has that are very relevant. Fiona?
Thank you. So I have a little notebook here because I jotted down the moments of change where I had big amounts of resentment. I was also very proud of myself to be so adaptable and so amazing that I could just chop and change and fit in and be really good at my job, even though I had 5 different leadership roles in education in 5 different sites, not even just in neighbouring towns. They were hundreds of kilometres apart. And one of those jobs involved going to lots of different sites and building up relationships in lots of different sites. So with every change, you have to build a relationship and get to know people and remember, the little nuances of that working site, like where the toilet is, or like at this site you bring your own cup or their own, whatever happens in the staff room. Remember people's names, remember what role they have, build all those relationships. I think it gave me a lot of practice in trying to do that, which, isn't detrimental in the long run. But at the first of these 5 positions that I took on, I was kind of getting a bit pissed off. Sorry for using that language on here. I was getting a bit annoyed about my classroom was getting stacked with children with high needs, because I was really good at listening to those children and really good at working with those children and really good at keeping them calm as I could in the circumstances, and helping them to learn. But what happened is that was draining me because I put so much effort into that, and it was draining me. So I had a little bit of resentment going with me, maybe a little bit of bitterness, whatever negative word you would like to have, as I launched into the new job. And it was I'd gone from a classroom back into a leadership role. And then partway through that year, my husband decided that we were going to move, that he wanted to move, he wanted to change. So we moved, and we moved from an island to the mainland, and we moved like hundreds of kilometers away. So that in itself is a whole big upheaval and a whole lot of change. And then I had to get a job. And the only job I could get at the time, at like the spur of the moment, well, not wasn't the spur of the moment, but like fairly close to last minute, was 85 kilometers away. And it was a
Wow.
new job role doing something very different. And I was loving it. I absolutely loved that job. It was all very techy. It was an online job. I just adored the children, adored the families. I loved it. But it took a lot of work for me to build that relationship up and get all my systems going and get everything happening. So I had a little bit of like 2 changes before, plus moving house and moving communities. I had a bit of like, bloody hell, this wasn't actually my choice being carried with me. And then things happened and I ended up with 4 more jobs within 3 years and moving house again. And it's not just moving me and the house, it's moving pets, it's moving children, finding schools for children, like it's coordinating a whole pile of things. So there were all those, and every one of those decisions, there was that bit of like, this wasn't my bloody, instigation. And so, okay, the first one of these sort of moves was my instigation, but the others weren't. And so with each one of those, there was that little element of compounding of resentment going on. And that wasn't the end of all my changes. They kept going. And as you might have heard back in like the previous episode where I was talking about that, in the end, my body just started shutting down. My body had had enough. And what I've learned since about that ability to rebuild, I've learned all kinds of things, and one of those is to reframe those emotions in every single cell of my body. So every single cell of my body has a different memory. So instead of my body remembering that was resentment, and then the next time that change comes up, I have all those tense feelings of whatever you want to label them as, like, oh my God, here it goes again. And like that memory being replicated. I've now got other tools to be able to tell every cell in my body that it's a positive thing, that this is joyous, that this is this is a great thing. And I have a few tools to be able to do that. And one of them is with my trusty little pendulum, where I have a percentage arc from 0% to 100%. And I ask my body what percentage of my body is feeling this negative kind of thing. And it might tell me 100%. It might tell me, anywhere a little bit lower. Sometimes it's only 10%, but I can still get rid of that 10% and switch it. So
Before we go on, I would like to ask you some questions. Like, I love this so much because as you're talking, my mind is like my critical mind. Like, we talked about the cynic yesterday and how when you started, you were cynical. And right now you just have so much trust. And my cynical brain is like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And so I was like, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and be the cynical one. Woohoo! Like, I believe in what you're doing, but I also know that when you're coming from that place of like, you just feel kind of like stuck. It's like, oh, more things to try, or like this isn't gonna work, or this is some woo-woo thing that, or you're just full of it. Like there's no way that that's the answer. Like there's so many beliefs and thoughts that feel true, even though they're not necessarily true, that come up with that. But the one that I really feel is coming up for me, and that's the one I'm gonna don't you think it's delusional or something crazy to try to change the memory that your body has of something?
3 years ago, I would have been the person that's would have used very colorful language to express how I thought that was the craziest idea in the world. And like, what are you talking about? And how can you possibly talk such rubbish? I guess there's some people in a train of thought about truth, that truth, to start with, there's like the skeptics and the people that put it down. And then they sort of start experiencing, and then in the end they go, well, it was my idea in the first place, kind of thing. So
I want to re-highlight that, because the way you're saying it, it's just like very matter of fact, but like that's because you've been working at this for a while. So like it's your memory, and there's always two sides to everything, at least two. Sometimes there's facets, like a gem, the face of a gem. So it's like you get to choose what part of the memory you choose to hold on to, or what you get to inflate with your life energy. It's kind of like if you had two balloons, like your air fills those balloons. So do you use a heavy energy, like the heaviness of what heartbreak is? Like, let me blow up my balloon with all my heartbreak and see if it carries me everywhere. Or do I blow up my balloon with happy thoughts and pixie dust, like in Peter Pan, where it helps you float away? Like, but it's because you're the one that gets to inflate, like, and it's so pivotal when you're starting over, because if you're starting over with the resentments in the past, you're going to bring those patterns with you. So, like, to really get down to a basis where you're building something different, you have to let go of the pattern building that has built your life and find new pattern building. And that's not always an easy thing to do, but the practices you do have helped you do that. You've transitioned from the heavy to the light.
I think I always tried to shut down the heavy and just focus on the lightness of like, wow, look how adaptable I am, and look how clever I am, and look how amazing that I can just slot into a new community and just have a go at a new community and do my job in a new community. Like, but that wore thin because I was always carrying that heaviness. And it wasn't until I started learning from other people how to get rid of that little niggly heaviness that was just starting to weigh down my happiness balloon, as the metaphor that you were using. It wasn't until I started working out how to shift that heavy rock, um, that I became this person. Um, So I have multiple ways of doing it. People have brought all sorts of different ways to me. There's like tapping, but there's tapping and tappings. I've had one person teach me a tapping that is so thorough. It's just unbelievable. And then she's taught me how to run, run, run until you're done. And so I can just tell my body to do that tapping and not actually physically tap. And it can happen while I'm doing something else. It's going to be happen while I'm driving. Like I've learned all these different things that these little tools for my toolbox that I just latch onto one at the moment and go, oh, I'll do that one today. And they all work. And essentially, they are reframing all my memories, but not just my brain memories, not just my heart memories. It's every cell in my body is being reframed to let go of, well, I heard someone say that all of it is fear. And once we have a little fearful moment, then all these other emotions come through. So like it's about letting go of all of that, and then bringing in the joy and reframing it. And so imagine if you've got a bowl and it's all full of negative, but you need a full bowl. You need a full cup. You need a full bowl. Okay, I might use my cup. You need a full cup to function. But at the moment, it's full of crap, like it's all full of yucky stuff. You tip it out, but now it's empty. And if you don't fill it up with joy and lovely things, it's going to fill up with the crappy shit again. So we need to replace it kind of immediately with joy and happiness, or feelings that you really like. So I'm now in this place of restarting, and when I get into those, it doesn't have to be a new job like that, like the ones that I've listed here to remind me. It can be any moment where you're feeling those kind of negative feelings, because it might even be that you've bought a new car and you just don't know where to find the button or whatever to open to put more petrol in. Like, and you just have that little moment, oh, bloody hell, you know, like
Mhm.
in that little tiny moment, that is like starting over again because you've got a new car or a different car and you don't know how to do something. That is starting over again on a small thing. So it's about helping you to clear that in that moment, to go, right, ditch, I don't need that. Thanks for serving me fear. Thanks for serving me that negative energy of whatever feeling that was, that negative feeling. Thanks for serving me. Thanks for reminding me that this is new and different. I'm okay. I don't need you anymore. Thanks. You've done your job. See ya.
I love all of that. Okay, let's get into the good practical stuff. I feel like this is such good context, especially because it's like as the resentment comes up or the bitterness, it could be like, no, that's for I could see how that could work, but it wouldn't work for me. But it's like, no, it can work, and it's not overnight. And sometimes it feels like you're moving really slowly, but you're like it's impossible to calibrate until you're kind of like on the other side. Like you just kind of have to flow with it, and like it goes back and forth. And one of the things I like the most, and I just want to mention this because it's like I can really feel myself like there's this internal battle going on. I've been in this a long enough time that I know how the battle will go, but it is still there. And it's like there's a part of me that wow, it just went away. Maybe just even talking about it. Oh, no, I remember now. So there's there's this thing that when something is outside of your attention, it doesn't seem as big of a deal. But then when you put your attention on it, it feels all encompassing. So I'm just going to use a totally outside the box example just for this. So it can be like, let's say that you don't take care of the money situation, your significant other or parent or someone else is paying all the bills. So you're not worried about money at all. It's not even in your periphery. And then all of a sudden something happens and you have to look at and take care of the bills yourself, and your focus goes from this is over here and off camera to suddenly it feels like everything. And so you like a tunnel vision of what's going on, and it can feel overwhelming. Like, this is so bad. I can't even believe this is happening. Oh, this is what am I gonna do? The thing is, like, that is the first step to changing it, because it's not more severe than it was when it was off out of your attention. It's just that your attention has been drawn to it. So the severity is actually like cognizant in your brain. Because I feel like sometimes it's overwhelming when it's like, oh, I'm going to make this change. And then you start making the change and you're like, but it's getting worse. It's not that it's getting worse. It's just that your attention is seeing the nuances of it more. So it's not like the calibration of the internal experience is inaccurate. Like from the outside, once your attention moves to it, it's already starting to change. Okay, let's get into the good stuff.
What would you like? Which bit of good stuff would you like?
Uh, I would like when you were talking about your pendulum, like I just had this thought, like, oh, like the universe is like, oh, the pendulum's kind of getting out, or like Fiona's getting her pendulum. Get ready, things are gonna
Get
move.
ready.
Like,
Oh, well, like it could be like I have a bracelet here. It could be that's my beautiful sapphire bracelet that I bought in Thailand. That could be my pendulum today, that I've just picked up off my desk. So with my pendulum, I can, in the process of changing the percentage of every cell in my body that believes that I need to feel resentment for having to change jobs again. That's kind of out of my control, that is the path of least resistance to be able to keep with my family and my children and move communities with them. That I can change, I can swap that resentment out of my cup, out of every cell of my body, and replace it with some kind of happy feeling. And so I go through a process that I I use all kinds of experiences that I've had in the past, and I blend them all together and add a bit of myself in there, and I do this thing. And what my body shows as it's clearing and removing that energy is all kinds of expulsion. It might be air, it might be tears, it might be sweat, it might be a muscle movement where I've got to wriggle something out. All kinds of different physical symptoms happen as that energy clears. And then I ask my pendulum, and it might only take a minute, it might take 2 minutes, like it doesn't take very long. And then I ask my pendulum again, what's the percentage of every cell in my body that now believes this? Most times it'll instantly go to 100%, but if it hasn't, that means I haven't quite nailed an emotion somewhere. I have to go back and nail something else. I have to think a little bit deeply about another one that I might be feeling that I'd been like squishing away. So I need to think about that. And then when I do it, I get the 100%. And it's like, yay, that one's gone. Woohoo, move on.
Can we do an example live? Because I think that, like, I love
Sure.
listening to you talk about it, but I feel like actually seeing it is so rewarding. So we did one earlier. I have a resentment about a burnout that happened in 2013. And like that is what popped into my head. So I was like, yeah, let's roll and see what that comes up. Right now, like as I'm thinking about it, I feel a lot of sensation in my left knee, which is probably where I've been carrying it. So that's kind of interesting, just like how the body holds memories in certain spots and what that can mean. Um, that would be a great episode for another day, like as an auxiliary, but focusing with that, would you be open to perhaps demonstrating how the release of that goes? Because this is an
Sure.
old one. It's not something that happened this morning or 3 days ago, and it's a big one. It's like my brain is like, "Oh, I'm over that. That doesn't make a big difference." But we can see, does it? Because I don't think it's gone.
So it's like the onion skin with something really huge like that. This might be, you might need multiple of these because I might be just peeling one layer off and then there'll still be more and then more and then more and then more until you've done all the layers. Because at that point, back in 2013, you probably had one little thing that you pushed away, and then another little thing, and another little thing, and another little, and another, and another, and another, and another. And now you go, oh, it was really big in 2013. Just get rid of the whole lot for me.
Just throw the whole onion away.
So with this modality, I might not be able to get right to the base, but I can like peel the layers off.
Yeah,
It might be multiple times.
like I know I can work with it now that we've talked about this. Like I can play around with it, and maybe my thing's not pendulums, but can I clear things with cards? Like, I can experiment because I'm very much into trial and error, those types of things. Like, what kind of clearing feels like good for me, and that's a
Absolutely.
conversation I'll have with myself, and maybe I will do a video just as a follow up because I think that'd be cool. But I just like just as a demonstration because
Sure, let's go.
Okay.
All right. People can't really see my percentage, but I do have a percentage thing going on here.
I love that. That looks like a gas gauge, or I guess as you would say, like a petrol gauge to see how full your tank is.
Like an arc, yeah. I think of it as a geoliner, or like those protractors and geoliners that we used to use in school for drawing angles. I think of it like that.
That's a teacher take for sure. I love it.
I like your fuel gauge idea. What percentage of Taiza's body holds resentment for the incident back in 2013? Ooh, it's at about 95%.
How much?
Around 95%.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Because I've only got 0, 25, 50, 75, 100. So it's closer to the 100 than it is to the 75.
It's a range.
Audience, you're just going to have to excuse my funniness that happens right now, my peculiarity.
Oh, sorry. That's kind of trash energy for you to have to experience. feel like I farted and you can smell it.
Don't make me laugh in the middle of it.
Sorry.
No, I'm just start again. Okay.
I could feel it. Like as you were working, the sensation was really coming up through here, which I think is
Yeah,
interesting. So
that
so
is
later I'll be
interesting.
looking up like reflexology.
What happened there? Like, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
like there's grief. I mean, I hold a lot of grief in my sinuses, so
Okay. What percentage of Tasia's body believes it needs, or what percentage of every cell in Tasia's body believes they need to hold resentment for what happened in 2013? It's coming out at 0.
that was that's amazing.
So that was just about resentment. So we'll see. There might be some other feelings, though.
Yeah,
There might be
well,
some other emotions. But there we
that's
go.
still like that's a major vacuuming. It's it really reminds me of just like spilling stuff all over the floor and you're like, "Oh, my floor is going to be dirty for the rest of my life." And then you get a good vacuum and it sucks it all up and then you're like, "Nope, good to go."
Good like
'Cause
me.
like that's the energy. It felt it also sounds kind of funny, but it felt like suction, but not intrusive, if that makes sense. I was like, "Oh, this isn't intrusive at all," which is cool. That was so fun. I definitely think I wanna do more, focus on, like, the practice of it, but I feel like this is so good because both of our have had our cynical portions of our brain that's like, "That's not possible," or "You're just wishful thinking." And, I mean, if you believe that, it's true because it's those are the types of beliefs that are animated by your belief. So, I love this. Like, if I came across this video in 2013, I would be really pissy about it, and then I'd be like, "But wait." And then I would probably stew on it for, like, weeks, and then I'd be like, "I want a clearing." It's like,
If I
"That's
came
not my
across this
problem."
video only 2 years ago, I would have gone, "What do they mean by energy clearing? What does that actually mean?" I have no
Right?
idea. I know what the word energy means, and I know what the word clearing means, but not in this context. I have no idea what that means. So, yeah, a lot has happened for me in the last 3 years, and the vocabulary has been one of the biggest ones for me to
Mm,
learn what all of these terms mean in these contexts, because it's different.
absolutely. Like,
Reach out,
yeah.
people, reach out, let us know
Well,
what
yeah, I mean,
doesn't
like, we're
make sense.
here, and it's like I know so many people that are healing, and I know healers, and I know so many people who are expanding what they call their gifts. Like in like when people say gifts, it's kind of an abstraction to me that I'm just like it's your god like it's part of your energy signature. It's not just a gift. It's not just like you're not it's just it's not another aspect of yourself that you can exploit for monetary gain. Like it is a core part of your signature, of your essence, of your humanity. And like humans are designed to live in like groups. And so within a group, there's going to be people who are good at one thing and another thing and another thing and another thing. Like we were talking about the Claires in the other episode. And like I know this, I'm kind of going on, but I do feel like this is relevant because it's like everyone belongs. And if there's not somebody getting to show up as they really are, as they belong, it damages the wholeness of the entire group. And not in a you better be who you're meant to be so everybody's better off. It's we are all sparks of the divine. Like I really believe that. I really believe we're all divinely lit. And to not be able to be that lit part of yourself detriments it's a detriment to the whole. And we also have free will. So it's like if we don't want to give it, if we want to withhold it, we we have a right to do that. Like there's impacts and consequences, but we also get to choose. And but it's like once you get to the point that of realizing the goodness, like it doesn't feel like a choice because it's like if I know 1 + 1 = 2, I can choose to misinterpret that and insist it's 4. Like for the rest of my life, I can insist that 1 + 1 = 4. I can do that. But why would I? It's just not practical. It doesn't pragmatically work. So along with that, it's like you don't have to choose to heal, but when you get to a certain point, you realize the practicality of it. Like it doesn't make sense to wallow in misery for eternity if you don't have to. But I mean, you have the free will and you can. Like we really do get to have that choice, and nothing's going to take that choice away. Um, except good common sense once you start seeing the other side.
Once you start seeing the other side, absolutely. And I think that the more people who are finding whatever way helps them to switch from, and people call that switch healing, from the negative to the positive on everything, we're all, it's so much nicer when you walk into a room full of happy people than walking into a room full of grumple bums. So, like, if the whole world is all feeling much happier, it's just a nicer place to be. It's a nicer environment to be in. Like, so the more people that do it, the better. And how they do it, up to them is their choice. Like we all have, like you said,
Absolutely.
free will. We all have choice, and there's no one right way to do this. Every way is a right way. If it works for
And
you, it's good for you. Then that's the right way.
yeah, yeah, and it's like you can't fail. You keep trying until it works. And I guess that's like my human design, so that's definitely my take. But there is a path for everything. The biggest cutoff for a path is believing the path doesn't exist at all. Like paths for healing can exist, but first you have to believe. Even if it's that 1% of you on your little gauge, like if 1% of you believes that healing is possible, the door opens and the path can begin to form. Um, and there's people are awakening and like their gifts are opening and there's the healing like the healing is there. Like people on the collective are ready to start healing the collective.
Absolutely. And
I
I'll put
love
my
this
hand
so
up
much.
for that too.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
well, that's a good note to wrap up on because we're 30 minutes in, and like this, I feel like this content needs to take the time that it takes. But I would like to wrap things up. Do you have any parting thoughts?
Oh, reach out, people. If there's words that we've said, phrases that we've said, concepts that we've mentioned that really don't make any sense to you at all, reach out. We're
Yeah,
happy to try and explain them.
absolutely. We can do follow-up videos. Like we can put whatever needs. Like this is like what are needs based. Like you're a teacher. You know how to meet people's needs where they are for what they need to learn.
I try
Not
to.
just not just a teacher. You're a teacher that taught teachers how to teach.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah. So, super, super blessed to have you and your knowing and your
Thank
energy
you.
and your spirit team that works with you to just move mountains. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank
Thanks,
you.
Taiza.
And yeah, reach out if
See
we
you,
need to
people.
cover
See you
something
next
out.
time.
All right. Bye.